Hi guys, it's Dr. Pam, and I'm here with this week's burning question from someone in the clinic. She asked specifically about vitamin D. We were talking about the Hills Science Diet recall and how they expanded that last week to include more varieties of their food for toxic levels of vitamin D. And she asked, if it's so toxic, why do you test for it and then supplement it? That's a really good question. So we're going to hit three major points today, and then we're going to move on in the next video, and we're going to cycle into the difference between synthetic and whole food vitamins. Now guys, that is a pivotal video because you need to understand that for the basis of everything that we do. It's a very important piece, okay? So vitamin D is a big heavy hitter now. So back when I was in school, it was about bone health and calcium metabolism, really nothing super sexy. Well, since then we've had an explosion in the scientific community, and we've had lots and lots of scientific studies and discoveries, and it's been phenomenal. And so what they've discovered is that vitamin D receptors are scattered all over the body, not just bone, all over the body, right? And these vitamin D receptors, if they're present, they have action. So vitamin D actually influences multiple tissues in the body. It's a lot more widespread than we thought. And so three of those I'm going to talk about briefly because I find them fascinating. And then we're going to move on because we don't have time. So the first thing that I want you to know is that they've discovered that the immune system is heavily dependent upon vitamin D. It's important for immune regulation. Why is that important? When you have an immune event where you need a good response, you need a cohesive response from the immune system. And there's many different areas of the immune system that have to work together. It's much like the military. If you have a bunch of soldiers that are doing their own thing, it's going to be chaos. That's autoimmune disease in the immune system. When you have soldiers that have commanders and those commanders have commanders, then you create a response that is cohesive and effective, right? So what they've discovered is that vitamin D is an integral part in the immune regulatory part of the body. Now, the other thing that's super important is they actually localized and discovered that vitamin D really promotes cancer cell death. This is huge. Now, before you run off and buy a big bottle of vitamin D and start giving it to everybody that you know that may have cancer, hold your roll, slow your roll, because we really need to talk about how you supplement, how you test, and why you do what you do, okay? So just wait. The second thing is that you see in genetics that vitamin D plays an integral role in genetic expression. What does that mean, Dr. Pam? Your genes produce, when they're expressed, a blueprint. That blueprint kind of tells the body what to do, right? That's what genetic expression is. In my day, when you expressed a gene, you were stuck with that label, there was no turning back. That's totally different now. You can totally change your stars. So what they've done is they've discovered that the vitamin D receptors on the genes actually affect the blueprint that you express. So if you have a real high quality blueprint, you're going to get proteins that are synthesized that promote healthy processes in the body. If you have a low quality blueprint because you don't have good vitamin D levels, then that blueprint is going to produce bad quality proteins that are inflammatory producing, which brings me to the last thing I want to talk about vitamin D, is that vitamin D modulates inflammatory load, okay? This is a big deal because we've talked about this time and time again. All disease starts with a nutrient deficiency, inflammation, and then you have disease potential, right? Nutrient deficiency, inflammation, disease potential. So with this, you figure out that if you have adequate levels of vitamin D, you're going to have a pro-health anti-inflammatory action in the body, which is huge, okay? So moving on. Humans and dogs acquire their vitamin Ds differently. Humans have an actual pathway within their skin, so you take the sunlight and it converts it into a vitamin D, right? So that pathway does not really exist in dogs. You get less than 1% from a skin pathway. And so they rely 100% on food for their vitamin D levels. Now, out in the wild, when you have a big cat or you have wolves, these guys take in organ meat, which is high in vitamin D, anything fatty. It's a fat-soluble vitamin. So fat tissue, spleen, liver, kidney, even the heart has a lot of vitamin D. So vitamin D comes in nature in a beautiful little package. But since we've kind of moved into a bag type of diet, on also canned diet, they've had to add it back synthetically. Now that makes a difference in the body. And all vitamin toxicities begin with synthetic vitamins. You will never see a vitamin toxicity with a whole food vitamin, okay? So let's go on. We'll talk about that next week. So the next thing that you need to know is that vitamin D in excess amounts can be toxic because most of the ways, well, really, other than food, the only way we supplement it is synthetically. So all the vitamin D supplements on the market are synthetic, and everybody's need is different. So that's why testing is super important. Now, we've been testing vitamin D for, I don't know, over 10 years, well over 10 years in the human field. And in the functional medicine realm, we've been talking about the implications of what it does. I've been sitting on my hands for all this time thinking we could use this in dogs, but we just didn't have a simple test. Well, now we do. We have a lab that you take blood from the dog, do a quick little card test, send it off. It's back in a week. Super easy, super economical. Instead of the $500 test that it used to be, it's like 98 bucks. So it's really a good entryway into doing that, and it can be a game changer in your case. So synthetic vitamins, you never want to give them without knowing what you're doing. And understand that 97% of all the vitamins on the market right now are synthetic. So how do you pick whole food vitamins? That's our next video. So if you stick with me next week, we'll talk about that. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.